Hello and welcome to the News at 7, where we get to the heart of the day's stories and communities across Scotland. Tonight, undercover in a care home. BBC Scotland reveals a litany of failures. Relatives accuse operators of cruelty and neglect. Also tonight, is the UK right to recognise the state of Palestine? We'll hear from one Inverness doctor with family in Gaza and Glasgow Friends of Israel. Schools should use stricter sanctions against violent or unruly pupils, a report argues. We'll hear what teachers think. We will have all the sport with Lewis. What have you got tonight, Lewis?
Well, Laura, Jimmy Tulin is in desperate need of a win as bottom of the league Aberdeen suffer a cup exit. And I'll speak to the teenager who stole the show at the Camera Cup final.
And we'll meet the mother whose baby was saved by a liver transplant. Hello, I'm Laura McGee. Welcome to the News at 7. Cruelty, neglect, these are some of the words used by relatives of residents or former residents at one of Scotland's largest care homes, who have accused its operators after an undercover BBC investigation revealed a litany of failures. Castle Hill Care Home in Inverness had the most complaints of any care home upheld against it in Scotland last year. Katrina McPhee worked in the home for 7 weeks as a cleaner for BBC Scotland's Disclosure programme. She witnessed some residents with dementia in distress after repeated instances of basic care and medical needs were not met. A warning, her report contains distressing scenes.
I didn't know what else to do. I was really struggling. I just needed someone to help me.
A daughter describing the experience of placing her mother in a care home.
I'm just going to show you this.
For Vanessa, what came next was even more difficult.
It's okay, it's okay. We'll get rid
Vanessa's watching footage of her mum Tisha in Castle Hill Care Home in Inverness. Here, Tisha has removed her stoma bag. She waits over an hour for it to be reattached.
She's looking for help, Mum, that's what she's doing.
This is one of various examples of poor care I witnessed during 7 weeks working undercover in Castle Hill as a cleaner. In secret footage gathered for BBC Disclosure, I saw incident after incident of basic care needs going unmet. This, in spite of the home being under an improvement notice at the time from the Care Inspectorate, which regulates the industry in Scotland.
I've been told there's 2 carers on for the whole floor and 1 nurse. It's 12 noon, there's still quite a few residents in bed.
In a statement, Castle Hill said, "We operate to the highest clinical standards in accordance with a documented care plan. We have appointed a clinical lead who will oversee extra support for the most vulnerable residents." Social care is supposed to provide dignity to our elderly. Financial and staffing pressures make this harder.
We're facing probably 2 main challenges. One, financial underfunding, which means organisations are really at the risk of sustainability and collapse. And secondly, a huge set of issues relating to workforce, both in terms of pay and the ability to attract and retain workers.
Castle Hill passed its improvement notice in August. The Care Inspectorate said, while Castle Hill has met the conditions set out in the improvement notice, it continues to have concerns and is monitoring the home closely. Vanessa has now moved her mum into another care home.
I had to do something. I can't leave her there. If not, I'd be caring for my mum the next 15 years myself in a care home. I was worn out, completely worn out.
The BBC has handed our evidence to the regulator and the local health board. Katrina McPhee, BBC News.
And you can watch Disclosure Care Home Undercover on BBC One Scotland tonight at 8 o'clock and on the iPlayer. Well, with me now is Jim Pearson from Alzheimer's Scotland. Thank you very much for coming into the studio to speak to us. Some pretty shocking scenes there, pretty distressing. What's been your reaction to watching that?
Well, Laura, poor care is always unacceptable. There is no reason why in 2025 we should be caring for some of the most vulnerable members of our community. in a way that doesn't provide the dignity and the safety and respect. So it's absolutely unacceptable.
Is this representative of care homes across Scotland?
I don't think it is. I don't think it is at all. There's many good care homes across Scotland. There are always going to be isolated areas or isolated issues, I suppose, that arise, and it's really almost disappointing to see that. But I don't think it would be fair to tar all of the care home sector with that same brush.
So if it's only a small amount of care homes, let's say, what is going wrong with those care homes? What's going wrong with the system? Is it low pay? Is it low staffing? What's happening?
I think it's a whole number of things, including staff. I think we ask people in their social care sector to look after some of the most vulnerable members of community. But it's not particularly a role that I think is valued in the way that it should be. So the way we commission our care services means that actually we don't necessarily have a group of staff who maybe are prepared to stay. We don't invest in them. We don't allow them to develop the skills and knowledge they need to look after some of those most vulnerable people with really complex needs. We don't always have the leadership that we require in there. 2019, the Fair Work Convention produced a report which made a whole series of recommendations about some of the challenges the social care workforce faced. And I think, here we are 6 years down the line and we haven't really developed or implemented those recommendations in Scotland. And I think that's really important. We need to give that workforce a voice. We need to invest in them. We need to develop them. But we need to give them the skills to do what they do well. And if we value the people who we ask them to care for, then it says an awful lot about the people we're asking those social care staff to look after. If we don't value those staff as well.
Okay. Thank you so much for coming in.
Yeah, thank you.
To talk to us. Hopefully something can change at those specific care homes. Many
thanks.
Thank you. The SNP Perth and Kinross Council leader, Grant Ling, has quit his post after being charged with embezzlement. Police Scotland said a 63-year-old man had been charged with embezzlement between 2017 and 2025 in the Perth area. He had announced his surprise resignation earlier in the day, citing personal reasons. He's also left the SNP. The UK government should take further action after recognising the Palestinian state, the First Minister John Swinney has said. At an event in London, he said sanctions should be imposed on some members of the Israeli government. The UK-Israel trade deal should be dropped and all military cooperation should cease. Well, how has this move been received here? In a minute, we will hear from Glasgow Friends of Israel. But first, here is Dr. Salim Gaida, a paediatric consultant at Raigmore Hospital in Inverness, whose family is in Gaza.
I don't think I have a straightforward answer, Laura. It's mainly because I'm Palestinian. I've lived all my life being Palestinian, and generations of thousands of years of my family are Palestinians. To us, Palestine had always existed and will always exist. So this is the context. But in terms of the UK context, to be honest, it's unforgivable. It's taken 76 years for the UK to recognize Palestine. It should have been recognized 76 years ago. They had recognized in our opinions, the occupier, the colonizer, but not the native people. So it's a step. It's, on the other hand, a step in the right direction, but words are not enough.
Well, for your family that are there, Doctor, do you worry that this may not make much of a difference, or how much difference do you think this will make?
Very little. No. My family haven't even really shared the news with me. They haven't even asked me about it, because what matters to them as we speak is for the war to stop Israel from massacring them. My family had to be forcibly moved 11 times in the last 12 years, Laura. We've only just had our house completely destroyed, a family house which had been built with the sweat and blood of me, my father, and my family. It has been completely destroyed by Israel. It's a family house, where civilians lived, and they've destroyed it. So my family at the moment live on the street in tents.
Dr. Salim Gaida there. I also spoke to Sammy Stein from Glasgow Friends of Israel. I asked what was his reaction to the news today.
I'm very confused by it, Laura, and I'll tell you why. Because Keir Starmer, who has taken the decision to recognise Palestine, he said to Israel, if you agree to a ceasefire, then we might recognise a state. However, what he should have done really is approach Hamas, which I remind you is an internationally proscribed terrorist organisation, and he should have said to them, if you, Hamas, agree to a ceasefire, and if you, Hamas, put down your weapons, and if you, Hamas, release the hostages, then in return, I will recognise a Palestinian state for you showing your goodwill towards peace. But he's made no demands on Hamas whatsoever. He's only made demands of Israel. How can Israel agree to a ceasefire if Hamas has not? And that's why I don't understand why he approached it the way he has.
Over 150 countries now recognise Palestine as an independent state. Are they wrong?
Well, it depends how you look at it. There are internationally accepted criteria for recognising a state. It's called the Montevideo Convention. And there are 4 criteria, and Palestine doesn't meet any of them, not one of them. So it's clearly a symbolic gesture. It's gesture politics, which actually means that Starmer is doing something that doesn't take very much, but he's doing it for publicity and he'll achieve nothing on the ground. So are they wrong? Well, by international law, they are wrong. That doesn't mean that I don't agree that there should be a Palestinian state. I agree that part of a peace process, there should be a state for the Palestinian people, but it has to be done as part of peace negotiations for both countries, and that hasn't happened.
Sammy Stein from Glasgow Friends of Israel there. Thank you for joining us on tonight's News at 7. We have lots more in the programme. We'll hear from the teenager who is grabbing the headlines in the world of Shinty. But how long will 16-year-old Joe Coyle stay in the game?
High pressure's in charge this week, meaning lots of sunshine by day, but some chilly nights in store. I'll have a full forecast later in the programme.
Head teachers should be able to use serious sanctions against unruly pupils, an education group has argued, which is concerned with the rise in violence and disruption in Scottish schools. The Commission on School Reform says schools should be given more support to discipline children by removing troublemakers from class and, in extreme cases, using suspensions and exclusions. A recent survey found that 44% of teachers experienced physical abuse or violence by pupils in the last year. So what do they think is the solution? Well, earlier I spoke to Mike Corbett from the education union NESUWT and asked him whether he agrees with the report.
We represent thousands of teachers across Scotland, and they would certainly agree with some of the conclusions in that report, principally the one that outlines that poor pupil behaviour remains a serious issue in too many of Scotland's schools.
Is it getting worse, though? Is bad behaviour getting worse in schools?
Our survey earlier this year suggested that once again, when our members are asked what's happened over the past 12 months, they have said that yes, pupil behaviour has deteriorated further. I think where we'd maybe question some of what the report says is they seem to have the Scottish Government as the main object of their ire. And while we've criticised government for being too slow to come up with new guidance, the fact is at the moment they have come up with that guidance, and it's really local authorities and schools who seem unwilling or unable to actually articulate that guidance and get it embedded in schools. That seems to be part of the problem, at least.
So what's it down to then? Why is behaviour seemingly getting worse in our classrooms?
We do have a lot of anecdotal evidence, much of which suggests that we're definitely in a different world post-COVID. And some of that may be due to pupils being at home for a while and different rules applying. Some of it seems to be parents or carers not having the same respect for education or for schools or for teachers. So there are a number of things there that could be, you know, the triggers for this. But at heart, our members are saying that undoubtedly post-COVID behaviour is worse. There are too many violent incidents and serious verbal abuse happening, you know, and that's towards teaching staff, support staff and to fellow pupils too much of the time.
For those most serious incidents, should it be easier to exclude children when there is no other alternative?
Well, again, that's where I would quibble slightly with one of the conclusions of the report. It seems to be suggesting there should be more permanent exclusions, which kind of harks back to me to the 1970s and 80s, which seems to ignore that councils have a legal duty to educate every child in their area. I think what we would say is there's obviously a lack of resource there, we think, in terms of specialist staff and maybe specialist units for some of the pupils who are displaying more serious violent and abusive behaviour. We certainly need to try and get them out of the mainstream class. They're not disrupting, you know, the learning of others.
Mike, thanks very much for coming in and giving me your thoughts this evening. Many thanks.
You're welcome.
Let's get a roundup of the stories making the BBC News app in Scotland. An asylum seeker who was shot and killed by police in 2020 after stabbing 6 people at a hotel had made threats in the 24 hours before an incident, a court has heard. A self-styled African tribe camping in the woods calling themselves the Kingdom of Kubala in the Borders have refused to move despite a second eviction notice. And 4 projects, including a 16th century tower, a bridge, urban gardens and a university space, are in the final for Scotland's most prestigious architecture award. Now, when Arlene McNabb noticed a bruise on her newborn son's Zach's leg, she couldn't have imagined where it would lead. Zach had a rare disorder which led him to becoming one of the youngest ever liver transplant patients. Well, it is Organ Donation Week and the mum is calling on people to have conversations with their loved ones about organ donation. I spoke to Arlene earlier and asked her how the family first noticed something was wrong.
He wasn't eating very well, and then we noticed a bruise on his leg and we took him back into the hospital. Actually, my midwife suggested we take him back into the hospital, and from there he got some tests done and he was quickly in ICU.
And at what point did you find out that he was going to need a transplant, and what goes through your head when you're told that about just such your tiny baby?
I don't really have words for what was going through my head, to be honest. I don't think we could believe it. I think we were still quite in shock that he was even unwell, never mind. It went so quickly and he was in liver failure like so quick, so.
You didn't even have time to let it settle that he would need one?
It was a lot to take in, and there's a lot around transplant that obviously the average person doesn't know unless you're in that situation. You don't learn a lot about it.
What's his life been like since Zach then had his transplant then?
It's been amazing. The initial part of it was quite difficult. The months after transplant was hard for Zach because he was so small, and he required a lot of medical care. But after that, he's done really well.
You've met you've spoken to the mother of the little girl that did donate her liver, part of her liver. You must just be so grateful to them, to that family.
Yeah, there's no words to describe how grateful we are. I don't think there's anything that you can say that can thank them enough for making that decision. And I'm so glad that we have found them and been able to have that discussion and talk about her little girl as well. It's been really good to learn about Hannah and about what kind of girl she was and about the things that she liked.
What would you say to somebody who's maybe watching and thinking about, you know, donating an organ in the future?
I mean, obviously it's a very personal choice, but I think if you are keen to do that, just look at our story and the difference that decision's made for our family.
Thank you so much for coming in and speaking to us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Still to come, we have weather with Gillian and a case of hitchhiking chickens in Aberdeenshire. But first, it's the sport with Lewis.
Thanks very much, Laura. Hello there. Yes, we're starting with football tonight, and the pressure is really mounting now on this man here, Aberdeen manager Jimmy Tilleen. They were knocked out of the League Cup by Motherwell at the weekend. They're bottom of the Premiership without a win and still haven't managed to score a goal in the league. They face sixth placed Dundee United at Tannadice tomorrow. Tilleen says he still has the club's support as he tries to improve the team's performances.
Nothing has changed. We're all on the same page. We understand that we haven't started the season well. It's only 5 games in, but it's still only 1 point and 0 score goals. And we feel like the performance is not exactly the way we want. But we're working really hard and try and have a clear and open dialogue what we need to improve and focus on the right things to get the results turned around.
So that's the view of the man himself, but what is the feeling on the terraces? Gavin Baxter from the ABZ podcast thinks that Tilleen could be just one bad result away from the chop.
You can sense that the support is turning. There's been a lot of loyalty towards Jimmy Tilleen throughout a very difficult spell ever since, in honesty, last November. And the Scottish Cup, of course, it was an incredible moment, and we all hoped that that was the catalyst to create a real legacy for Tilleen. But, you know, the fact of the matter is, in the league, especially in our bread and butter, the form and the performances have been nowhere near good enough, and it's getting hugely concerning. The problem is that I don't see the manager changing things, mixing things up to make us more unpredictable, difficult to play against. Tannadice, Dundee United tomorrow night, and then Motherwell away. I hadn't even factored in Shakhtar Donetsk at home in the Europa Conference League. For me, it can't go on much longer if there's no sign of change, no sign of improvement. So, but as I say, it's hard to say because the chairman is definitely very, very loyal. We invested a lot of time and a lot of money and a lot of belief in Jimmy Tilleen, so it'll be hard to pull the trigger as such. But yeah, it's becoming untenable with every passing game.
And now to a quite brilliant story in Shinty, and from the showcase final at the weekend, as Newton Moore here upset the odds to win the Camanachd Cup. And it was a teenager, 16-year-old Joe Coyle, who stole the headlines when he scored what turned out to be the decisive goal in their 3-2 win over Kingussie. It's almost certainly going to be his last match for them as well, as he's also playing football professionally for Ross County. Earlier I caught up with him and asked him what the last couple of days have been like.
Okay, it's been brilliant. It was an amazing experience, especially at such a young age, to experience something so good.
Yeah, something so good. The winning goal it turned out to be that you've notched there to make history for Newton Moore. That moment must be replaying in your head quite a lot, is it?
Oh, it was a dream come true to score the winning goal for Newton Moore in a Camanachd Cup final. That's been what I've dreamt of since I was a young boy. And it was a fiery game, I'm sure. A derby like that is always going to be. Can you talk to me a little bit about the atmosphere before the game? Oh, I was so nervous before the game. Leading to the game, I wasn't too bad, but as soon as I seen all the fans coming in, it was just way more people than I thought was going to be there. How many people have been in touch with you in the aftermath, Joe, to congratulate you then? I got quite a lot of nice messages the day after, so that was good. You play football for Ross County. It's quite a fascinating story. Talk to me about your love of Shinty, though, and how long you've been playing that, and at what stage did you think football and Shinty had to maybe pick or prioritise one or the other? I've been playing Shinty since I can remember. Since I was walking, I've been holding the Shinty sticks, and the last couple of years, I'd say the last year or so, I've been starting to think about the decision between Shinty and football. And luckily I got offered a contract at Ross County this year. So I think that could be my last Shinty match. That'll be the last one, potentially, yeah? I think that could be the last one. I think we've only got 2 games left this season, but I think the league's kind of out of sight, I think. So that could be my last game. Well, I'm fascinated to know, Joe, what the conversations must have been like with Ross County, because of course you're 16 years of age, you've got a contract with them. Footballers are worth a lot of money to their clubs, and yet you were playing in a Shinty match. Did you have to get permission from the club to play at the weekend? Yeah, Ross County have been brilliant. They They were very good of them to let me finish out the seasons, because when I got offered the contract, we were halfway through the season, we were going well. I just didn't want to let go of that. I just wanted to finish the season with the boys.
There's a lot of high-profile sports people like Robert McIntyre in golf who talks about his love of it. What is it about the sport that even when you've got something like a football career that's very valuable and could be at risk from a game like Shinty, that keeps you going back and keeps you hooked on that sport?
I think it's the community. It's just, it means everything to Newtonmore. Shinty means everything to people in Newtonmore, and I think just because it's so close to you, you don't want to let go of that.
So it means so much to the community, it obviously means so much to you. The fact that your name will forever be in the history books of Newtonmore, could you think of a better way to potentially wrap up your Shinty career for Newtonmore?
No. It was one of the best days of my life. To think that might be my last game of Shinty, I'm proud to say that.
Yeah, what a proud moment for him, Laura. I don't think I was doing anything close to that at 16.
No, not content with being good at just one sport.
No, I know.
He decides to do however many.
I hate when that happens.
It's very annoying, isn't it? Thank you very much,
Thanks, Laura.
Thank you. And finally, before we take you to the weather, it seems Aberdeenshire has been hit by a case of escaping chickens. This one was reunited with her owner after hitching a lift for about 25 miles on the back of a Land Rover. Dave Jacobs, pictured here, found her wandering around Stonehaven, and after a social media appeal, a farmer in Kintore came forward to claim her back. But it now transpires the farmer has a second chicken missing, which he also thinks might have hitchhiked to freedom. So if you see a loose hen cutting about Aberdeenshire, let us know, please. Right, Gillian, yes, breaking news there. Gillian, it is cold now. I have got my heating on. I have got my hot water bottle filled every night.
You will need it this week. It's settled, so lots of dry weather, but it is certainly chilly. This morning it was first frost of the season for some people. A really chilly start. You can almost feel the chill in this picture from one of our weather watchers in Renfrewshire. But with those clear conditions, lovely blue skies, cloud increasing for most of us though, especially in the northwest, quite blustery winds as well. But tomorrow, lighter winds and more in the way of sunshine, and that's because high pressure will become established right across us. This is the pressure pattern for the next few days, and high pressure is there or thereabouts. It's only later in the week that we open the door to the Atlantic, and we see some weather fronts threatening, so the likelihood of some rain as we head towards the weekend. Tomorrow it's going to be another chilly start. Like today, temperatures will be down close to, if not a touch below freezing for some of us. Could be some pockets of mist and fog to start the day as well. Otherwise, it's fine, dry and bright, lots of sunshine. A milder start for the western and northern Isles, where we'll have more in the way of cloud, and we'll have a few showers to start the day as well. And we can't rule out one or two showers as the day goes on for the northern Isles, a very isolated one elsewhere. But for most, it's dry and bright, some patchy cloud building up as the day goes on, and certainly winds lighter than today. So with temperatures 14-15 Celsius, that will feel pretty pleasant in that sunshine. Now we head into Wednesday, high pressure just slipping slightly eastwards. You can see a few more isobars on that chart. So a bit of a southerly breeze picking up, but that's a fairly mild direction. So it will be a milder day. We'll have some mist and fog to start. That will clear. And once again, it's dry and bright for most of us. Some good sunny spells. And temperature wise, in the best of that sunshine towards the Murray Coast, we could get up to 17 or 18 Celsius. Not bad for this stage in September, but the southerly winds freshening, especially along the west coast later in the day. More of the same really to come for Thursday. There will be the outside chance of a shower for the Western Isles, perhaps one or two for the west coast. But again, it's predominantly dry. We'll see patchy cloud along with some bright and sunny spells. And temperatures, if anything, a degree or two up again. So 18, perhaps 19 Celsius in the best of that sunshine in the north. Now, heading into Friday, this is when we start to see a bit of a change. Winds picking up. We have this weather front threatening from the west. So again on Friday, it starts dry and bright with sunshine, but becoming blustery, that threat of rain in the west later in the day. That's the forecast, Laura.
Not too bad then.
Not bad at all.
Pretty changeable.
Yeah.
Might have to get the blanket back out tonight. Thank you very much. That's all we have time for this evening. We'll be back tomorrow at the same time on BBC Scotland. From all the team, enjoy the rest of your evening. Bye-bye.